Hi, everyone, and welcome to this presentation on safety abroad. This is spring 2021, and we are excited to be preparing students for their programs abroad in fall semester 2021. So while there is so much I could say about safety, this particular presentation is really a series of travel tips. We know many of you are experienced travelers, so for some of you, this may be reminders and refreshers, but hopefully you'll find this to be a good collection of general advice and maybe even some new tips and hints that you have not heard before. And again, my name is Rhonda Waller. This is a quick summary of items I will be covering today, and I want to give a shout out to the University of Texas for providing some of the specific content from their own YouTube channel. So thank you to UT. I want to remind everyone that when you were invited to join this presentation, you were also sent a really important link we refer to as the Spark Handbook. So I would encourage you right now, if you haven't already, to open that link. And I'll share with you on my phone that I have it up. That's the home page there that you see on your screen. There's a lot more specific guidance in that handbook. So I want to make sure that you're referring to both that and this presentation. First off, one of the most obvious dangers to travelers abroad relates to water safety. So we want to make sure that if you are in a situation where you may be swimming or around bodies of water, that you're taking this advice into consideration. So you'll see on your screen here some important tips. Basically, paying attention to what locals are doing is super important, and making sure you never swim alone, and you're especially cautious about alcohol consumption and swimming. It's a pretty dangerous combination. In terms of personal safety, again, this will be reminders of things you've heard before. Make sure you are using common sense. Make sure you trust your instincts. As much as possible, keep a low profile and try to avoid drawing attention to yourself. You'll find some other suggestions as well on this slide. Car accidents are the #1 killer of healthy US citizens in foreign countries. So this can be something that we take for granted, but understanding the rules of the road, knowing local driving habits are really important ways to maintain your safety while abroad. So you'll find some questions here for you to consider as you prepare for your specific program. Make sure you're doing research on what are safe forms of transportation in the environment where you will be not only studying abroad, but perhaps in the areas that you plan to visit while abroad. Here are some additional questions to ask. And be sure to involve our partners abroad, the partner programs, our affiliate and exchange partners, and ask them to provide the answers where you are not able to research. Catcalling, unfortunately, is prevalent in many regions of the world. So we want to address this topic and help you think ahead of time about how to combat catcalling and to be aware of how this may play into your environment. So you'll find some questions here to ask, not only during pre-departure orientation, but after you arrive on site. We want all of our students to be aware of the perception of LGBTQ plus communities in their local environment. Be sure that you understand local context and local laws, and to take those into consideration as you think about your identity in your new destination. Theft is a really common occurrence abroad. And there are two main forms that we'll be discussing today. One is ATM fraud. So on this screen, you will find some good advice for avoiding ATM fraud. Next is pickpocketing, which is unfortunately all too familiar. Petty crime is really the thing that is most likely to affect our students abroad. So this is one to really pay attention to. Know which areas and neighborhoods have a high crime rate. Limit the amount of cash you carry with you. And of course, if you have to carry valuables, make sure that you're doing so in a discreet way and that you're securing those as much as possible and always keeping an eye on your belongings. Of course, we need to talk about drugs and alcohol. You really need to think about the role of drugs and alcohol in your safety abroad. So you'll find here on your screen some useful tips on how to avoid being victimized. Always stay in groups if possible and never leave a friend behind. Those are some of the most important tips I can give to students as they think about how they're going to spend their free time and managing their nightlife. So I hope you'll take those pieces of advice very seriously. It's also good to understand that it may be culturally inappropriate to be drunk in the context of your local environment. So you really do need to be aware of cultural practices, in addition to just knowing the drinking age of the environments in which you will be living and visiting. Drugs are a really bad idea. So the main message here is do not do any illicit drugs while participating in study abroad. The risks are so enormous and the consequences are very dire. So it's a really simple message. Finally, in addition to the Spark Handbook, I want to remind you of all the many resources you have at your disposal. You have the Global Education Center at Elon, and you also have your program host, and that is Elon's affiliate or exchange partner. They're going to organize a lot of orientation materials for you to absorb not only pre-departure, but after arrival. You will have an orientation once you are on site. So it's really important to heed that great advice and to be paying attention, take it seriously. Accidents can happen to anyone. Incidents can happen to anyone. No one is exempt from these experiences. So it's important that we all engage in this conversation, ask lots of questions. You also have program alumni at your disposal. And if you're not sure how to find program alumni, ask your program manager. They will be happy to put you in contact with global ambassadors and other program alumni. Again, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to helping you prepare to have a very healthy and safe experience abroad. Thank you so much.